I never thought I'd end up here, honestly. My name's Mike, and I've been married to Lisa for about 7 years now. On paper, we had a pretty good life. We owned a house, had two decent jobs, and honestly, I thought everything was fine, maybe a little boring, but nothing that screamed trouble. Lisa was a high-powered marketing exec, sharp, confident, often bitchy but charming when she wanted to be. I worked as an engineer, mostly involved in weather technology research, which I guess is relevant here. Looking back, though, I should have seen the signs. She was more distant lately, snapping at me over tiny things, lying about small stuff, like where she was or who she was with. She'd get these weird calls late at night, usually dismissing them immediately when I'd walk into the room. She accused me of being paranoid, but I just had a gut feeling something wasn't right. Plus, her phone started acting weird. She'd hide it more, change passwords, and delete messages like her life depended on it. It wasn't until I noticed her getting a little too defensive about her phone after I'd casually ask about her day that I started paying more attention. I mean, I wasn't some paranoid guy, but these little things stacked up. One day, I decided to casually check her phone while she was in the shower. Nothing suspicious at first, just typical work emails, some random texts, but then I saw a message from someone named Alex. It wasn't about work stuff. It was flirty, casual, but clearly not innocent. It made my stomach drop. I kept reading. Their exchange got more explicit. She was talking about meeting him, about how much she needed a break, how she craved the thrill of sneaking around. It was all in the messages, no denying it. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. I couldn't believe it. My wife, my partner, the woman I'd trusted with everything, was cheating on me with some guy named Alex, who, according to the messages, was a researcher in weather manipulation. The irony wasn't lost on me. She'd been having an affair with someone working on precipitation control experiments during our drought relief efforts. The worst part, they'd been doing it for months. I found texts from as far back as 5 months ago. I don't even know how I kept from losing my mind. That day, I stared at her messages, trying to process how someone I loved could do this, how she could lie so effortlessly. Lisa always prided herself on being honest, or so she said. But this was betrayal on a scale I couldn't comprehend. I felt angry, hurt, betrayed all at once. And I knew I had to confront her. I had to know what the hell was going on, why she'd done this, and what it meant for us. I didn't sleep that night. I kept turning over the messages in my head, replaying the moments I'd missed, the signs I ignored. The next morning, I decided I'd confront her. I wanted to hear her lie, wanted to see her squirm and deny everything like she always did when she was caught in a fib. I didn't expect her to admit anything at first. I just wanted her to own up, to see if there was any remorse behind her bitchy attitude. When Lisa finally came home from her meeting that afternoon, she looked annoyed, almost irritated that I was even waiting for her. She brushed past me, throwing her purse onto the sofa and muttering something about being tired. I could see the tension in her shoulders. I took a breath, tried to keep my voice steady, and then just blurted out, "Who is Alex?" She froze, her eyes narrowing. Her face tightened, and for a second I thought she was going to deny it outright. Instead, she scoffed and rolled her eyes. "What are you talking about? I don't know anyone named Alex," she said, trying to brush it off like I was delusional. I held up her phone. "I saw the messages, the ones you deleted last night. The ones that say you meet him, you crave the thrill of sneaking around. Tell me, Lisa, why are you lying?" Her lips curled into a smirk. "Oh, so now you're reading my texts. That's so asterisk nice of you. Maybe you should mind your own business," she snapped. Her voice was sharp, defensive. I could see her trying to act like I was just some jealous idiot over nothing, but I wasn't buying it. "Don't play dumb," I said, voice rising. "I saw everything. You've been cheating on me with a weather researcher. During our drought relief efforts, no less. Did you even think about what this could do to us, to me?" She rolled her eyes again and crossed her arms. "You're overreacting. I was just talking to him about some project stuff. It's not like I was screwing him in the back of his pickup truck," she spat out, voice dripping with sarcasm. "You're being paranoid. You always jump to conclusions." I felt my fists clench. "That's bullshit, Lisa. I've seen the messages. I know you've been lying to me for months." My voice cracked slightly, the shock and anger boiling over. "How long has this been going on? How many nights have you spent with him behind my back? She looked at me with that cold, bitchy glare. You're such an overgrown boy, she sneered. You think I'm going to sit here and explain every little detail? Sometimes I just need a break from your boring, predictable ass. Maybe you're the one who's been cheating, mentally, emotionally, whatever. Or are you just mad because I found someone better? That's when I felt the bottom drop out of my stomach. The pure, raw feeling of betrayal hit me like a freight train. The woman I loved, the woman I thought I knew, had been lying for months, sleeping around with someone she claimed was just a colleague. But I knew better now. I could see it in her eyes, the way she looked at me like I was a complete idiot for trusting her. That moment I realized I'd been naive. I'd believed her lies, her false promises. But the truth was staring me in the face. She'd been unfaithful, and she didn't even care enough to hide it well. I needed a moment to breathe, to think. My mind raced with 1,000 thoughts, anger, hurt, confusion, a sense of loss that was almost physical. I'd never felt anything like this before. I thought I knew her, but now I saw her for what she really was. A liar, a cheat, a woman who could screw someone else on the side during our drought efforts just to feel alive. That betrayal cut deep, and I knew my next move would have to be something drastic. I couldn't just sit here and pretend everything was okay anymore. I had to decide if I was going to fight for us or walk away. That night was a blur. I couldn't get her words out of my head, couldn't shake the feeling that my entire life was suddenly a lie. The anger simmered just below the surface, but underneath that was this deep, aching sadness. I'd always thought Lisa was strong, confident, maybe a little bitchy, but honest. To find out she'd been sneaking around, lying every step of the way, it felt like my world had shattered. How could she do this during our drought relief efforts? How could she betray the very cause we were both passionate about? It was like the universe was mocking me. I sat there in the dark, staring at the ceiling, feeling numb. I kept thinking about everything I'd trusted her with, our life, our future, and how easily she'd thrown it all away. The worst part, she had no remorse. Just that dismissive attitude, that whatever, I don't care smirk she wore when she was dismissing my concerns. That's what cut the deepest. She didn't even try to deny it anymore. She just looked at me like I was some annoying kid, like she'd already made up her mind. I remember feeling this surge of rage, not just at her, but at myself for ever trusting her fully. I kept asking myself if I'd missed the signs, if I'd been blind or stupid. Maybe I'd been too comfortable, taking our relationship for granted, and now I was paying the price. The betrayal felt personal, like she'd been planning it all along, strategically sneaking behind my back while we worked on saving drought-ravaged communities. It was cruel, and I had no idea how to process it. But there was one thing clear. I wasn't going to let her get away with it without consequences. I wanted to make her see what she'd lost, what she was throwing away. I wanted her to feel the same pain I was feeling, to understand the damage she'd done. This wasn't just about the affair. It was about the lies, the deception, the complete breakdown of trust. In the days that followed, I started planning my next moves. I didn't want to blow up everything right away, but I needed to gather more information, figure out her pattern, her motivations. I knew she was a bitchy, manipulative woman who'd lie her way out of anything, so I had to be smart. I started watching her more carefully, looking for inconsistencies in her stories, trying to catch her in another lie if I could. I also reached out to a few people I knew she'd been talking to, people who might give me some insight into her mindset. I wasn't just angry. I was hurt in a way I'd never experienced before. The betrayal was raw, and I knew that whatever I did next, my life was never going to be the same. Over the next couple of days, I kept my cool outwardly, but inside I was boiling. Every time I saw Lisa, I could tell she was trying to play it cool, act like nothing had happened, like her affair with Alex was just some stupid mistake she'd make peace with. Yeah, right. If she thought I was going to just forget or forgive that easily, she was dead wrong. I wasn't going down without a fight. I started to notice little things. Her phone kept hiding messages. She'd get defensive if I looked at her when she was texting or on her laptop. A few times I caught her in tiny lies, like she'd say she was working late, but her location data proved she was at some remote testing facility, not working. Late at her office. That place was miles out during our drought relief projects, and I knew she'd been there more than once. I also found out she'd been using secret codes in her emails, little phrases that didn't make sense unless you decoded them. I wasn't stupid. I pieced it all together. One afternoon, I finally snapped. I couldn't take pretending everything was normal when I knew she'd been lying to my face all along. I confronted her again, this time more direct, more confrontational. I told her I knew about the secret meetings, the texts, the secret codes, everything. Her face twisted into this bitchy sneer, and she told me I was imagining things, that I was paranoid and jealous. She even had the nerve to say I was overreacting, that it's just sex, and I should get over myself. That was the moment I realized her lies were not just about cheating. She was a master manipulator, gaslighting me into thinking I was crazy. She denied everything, even when I threw the evidence in her face. Her attitude was infuriating. It was like she enjoyed twisting the knife. I saw her for what she was, a selfish, manipulative woman who didn't care about me, about us, or about the damage she caused. I felt my stomach turn, not just from rage, but from this crushing sense of betrayal I couldn't shake. I remember walking out of the house that day, feeling like everything I'd believed in had crumbled. I didn't want to go nuclear right then. I needed to plan carefully. But inside, I was already brewing my revenge. She'd fucked with the wrong guy, and I was done playing nice. I started researching her secret activities, her meetings, her contacts, everything I could find. I needed her to pay for what she'd done, and I wasn't going to stop until I made her regret crossing me. That night, I sat in my office, pulling together all the clues and evidence I'd gathered. My heart was pounding, knowing that the next step would be decisive. I was going to expose her, confront her publicly if I had to, and show her that I wasn't some naive fool who'd get walked all over. This wasn't just about her cheating. This was about her lying, her deception, her betrayal of everything we built together. I had to make her understand that I wasn't going to be a victim of her scheming. Not anymore. The following days were a whirlwind. I meticulously gathered everything, photos of her at those remote weather testing facilities, texts from her Alex, emails with coded language, even some recordings I managed to secretly make during a rare moment she let her guard down. I kept everything in a folder on my laptop, knowing I'd need concrete proof when I finally decided to confront her again. The plan was simple in my mind. I was going to give her the chance to come clean, then lay everything out in the open. If she lied or denied again, I'd have the evidence to back my accusations. But honestly, I wasn't sure I wanted to give her the chance. The more I thought about it, the more I realized I'd been a fool for trusting her at all. She had this way of manipulating every situation, making herself seem like the victim. That woman had lied her way through every conversation, every argument, and now, every moment I thought I knew her. I felt a mixture of rage and heartbreak that was almost unbearable. I kept asking myself how someone I loved could turn into this lying, bitchy stranger. One afternoon, I decided I'd had enough of the waiting game. I called her at work, knowing she'd be in her office. I told her I needed to talk, that I had something important to discuss. To my surprise, she agreed, sounding irritated but somehow almost amused. When she walked into our living room, I was already sitting there, my laptop open, the evidence ready to be shown. I looked her dead in the eyes and said, "Lisa, I know everything. The affair, the secret meetings, the codes, the places you've been. I've got all the proof." Her face froze for a second, then she gave me that typical bitchy smirk, like she thought she could talk her way out of this. She tried to deny everything, said I was crazy, that I was just paranoid, that I was making it all up. But I didn't let her. I laid out the evidence one by one, watching as her mask of confidence started to crack. She snapped back, trying to minimize it, saying it was just sex, and that I was overreacting. She told me she was bored, that I was dull, that she needed excitement, like that made it okay. I felt my blood boil. I knew then I couldn't stay silent anymore. I told her I was done with her lies, that I was leaving. I told her she'd ruined everything, us, our trust, everything we had. And I told her she'd better pack her bags because I wasn't going to be part of her game anymore. Her face twisted into this furious, bitchy scowl. She kept yelling, calling me insecure, saying I'd driven her away with my jealousy. but I didn't care. For the first time in years, I felt a strange sense of clarity. She had pushed me to the edge, and I was finally free from her manipulation. I packed my things that evening, feeling a strange mix of relief and emptiness. I knew this was going to change my life forever, but I also knew I'd be better off without her lies and betrayal. That night, I lay in my bed alone, staring at the ceiling, replaying everything that happened. I thought about how I let her get away with so much because I wanted to believe in us, in the woman I married. But now I saw her for what she truly was, a selfish, manipulative woman who cared only about herself. I learned that you can't let someone lie to you for too long without consequences. And I learned that sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away. I don't know what the future holds, but I do know I won't stay in a relationship built on lies anymore. It's time to start over. In the days that followed, everything felt different. I moved out, left our shared home behind, and started rebuilding my life from scratch. It wasn't easy. There were nights when the anger and sadness threatened to swallow me whole. But eventually, I found a strange sense of relief. I'd uncovered the truth, and I'd taken back control, even if it meant feeling vulnerable for a while. Sometimes, the hardest lessons are the ones that teach you the most. Looking back, I realize how much I let myself ignore the signs, how I stood by for too long because I wanted to believe in the best version of her. But betrayal doesn't just ruin a relationship, it shatters your trust in yourself. It makes you question everything, your judgment, your worth. Still, I learned that healing is possible even after the deepest wounds. It's about accepting what happened, learning from it, and knowing your own value. I've come to see that revenge in some ways was inevitable. Not in the childish sense, but in proving that I could walk away with my dignity intact. I didn't need her approval or her lies. I only needed to be honest with myself. That's what kept me going, knowing that I deserved better. I also realized that some people are just not worth the pain they cause, and cutting ties is sometimes the only way to save yourself. Now I focus on myself. I've reconnected with friends, started therapy, and rediscovered my passions, things I'd neglected while trying to hold onto a sinking ship. I don't look back much anymore. When I do, I see a man who was naive but ultimately stronger than I thought. Betrayal hurts, but it also teaches you resilience. It forces you to confront your own limits and rebuild in ways you never expected. If I had any advice for anyone going through something similar, it's this: trust is precious, but it's also fragile. Don't ignore the warning signs, no matter how much you want to believe the best. Confront the truth, even if it's painful. And above all, never forget your worth. No betrayal, no matter how deep, can define you unless you let it. I learned that the hard way, but I also learned that I am stronger than I ever gave myself credit for. And in the end, that's what keeps me moving forward.